Hi, welcome to howtod&d. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about the Pathfinder Beginner Box. This is basically a starter kit for beginners who want to play Pathfinder, the tabletop role-playing game. Now, Pathfinder is essentially Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 with a few changes to try and improve it. The Pathfinder Beginner Box is pretty much a comprehensive box. So it has everything you're going to need to start playing the game. The box includes pre-made characters that you can play straight away. You don't need to learn how to create a character. Pathfinder, like Dungeons & Dragons, has a dungeon master to guide their players through the adventure. It includes a 64-page Hero's Handbook, and this details character creation, spells, equipment, and just the general rules. This is one of the best beginner box sets I've ever seen. It has a solo adventure for beginners to learn the basics of the game just as they're starting out. As I said, you get a pre-made adventure. The Player's Hero's Handbook is a stellar product, and I'm going to show you in more detail what it looks like. You can play from levels 1 through to level 5. All the artwork is amazing and it's in full gloss colour. Everything is explained very, very carefully. The Game Master Guide is top notch, and I'm going to show you that as well. You can play the game in about 60 minutes per game session. That shouldn't be too difficult. The beginner box is suitable for ages 13 and up. The game can be played with 2 to 5 players, but it's easier and more fun if you have 5 players. I do not play Pathfinder anymore, but it is a AAA product in my opinion. You can purchase the beginner box from Paizo's website, Amazon, or the book depository. So the very first thing I want to say is it comes with 4 pre-made character sheets. Now it does come with some blank character sheets which you can use and fill in your details and create a character if you want. So the very first thing I want to say about the pre-generated characters or pre-made characters that are available is there are 4 of them, one for the fighter, the cleric, the wizard, and the rogue. You also get some blank sheets for creating your own characters if you want to. Now the great thing about these sheets is they are designed for somebody who's never played the game. It explains in detail what each thing is supposed to do. So it doesn't just give you the character sheet, it explains down the sides how it's going to be used in the game, whether it be combat, saving throws, how to read your character sheet. And as you can see on the back, it gives you a little bit of information about that particular character as well. The Pathfinder Game Master Guide is one of the more impressive products I have seen in a long time. As you can see, full colour, it gives you some maps and a general layout in the book. Got a contents page, but it goes into all of the information you would require in terms of understanding how combat works, rounds, how to set up ambushes. It gives you in this book a whole bunch of scenarios, understanding how to use them, and it illustrates everything clearly. So there's plenty of formatting, bold areas. It gives you sections on how to deal with crypts, and it also includes a very broken down and simplified stat block for a particular monster, so you don't have to go flipping through the book trying to find stuff. It also gives you a whole bunch of information about how to game master, how to actually run the game, how to do it well, what a game session might look like, some of the important things you need to remember as the game master, some general rules, how to deal with environment, magic, monsters, all those sorts of things, how to build your own adventures. So it gives you like a dozen dungeon stories that you can use just to sort of start yourself out. Shows you a general layout for a map that might be used in an adventure, how to build and what sort of types of encounters you can put together, how to use obstructions and obstacles. It also has a great big section on how to build a campaign, and worlds, stuff like that. It then goes into all sorts of other information about your environments, whether it be dungeons, wilderness, swamps, mountains, deserts, cities, all that sort of stuff. Really good, really helpful for somebody just starting out. And it then gives you a whole bunch of information on how to deal with breaking objects, different environments, floors and walls, doors, molds, stuff like that. And then you get what has got to be a huge section on charts, and this deals with traps, how to deal with different wool types, different terrains, forest terrain, swamp terrain. That's all broken down and sort of how it would work in the game. So really helpful, plenty of really nice artwork to illustrate everything. Hazards are also itemized as well in terms of how you would use them and what they might be. And then you get magic items. There's a whole bunch of magic items that have been broken down, nice and simple, not too much to actually read. And yeah, covers everything from staffs to wands to weapons to armor. And then of course you get a huge section on monsters. And I can't remember exactly how many monsters there are in this particular book, but there's enough to keep you busy for a very long time, and it covers pretty much all of the basic creatures and monsters that you would be likely to encounter in any adventure that you're going to be running or wanting to run or create yourself. So it doesn't do everything, but there's pretty much everything covered that you will really need to start off with. Goes over how to deal with random encounters, and then it breaks down the monsters into their locale, so whether they would reside in a dungeon, a forest, swamps, mountains, desert, cities, things like that. All these sorts of things are really helpful when you're starting out, and it gives you Sand Point as a starting location. Now it doesn't just give you a really good map, it gives you a breakdown of what it would look like. This is a map you can photocopy and give to your players and you won't have any problems. It gives you a bit of background information, so you've got a starting point for your adventure. And then it includes a whole bunch of additional quests that you could use, and then you get references after that. And that covers lots of different information. And then at the back you have conditions, how the conditions work in the Pathfinder game, and then a way of actually reading common map symbols. So often map symbols are hard to understand, and they've gone into a bit of detail to actually indicate what they might look like. So really nicely done. It's a fantastic book. The Pathfinder Hero's Handbook is a really important resource because this is what you're going to use to learn how to actually play the game when you start out. It also has your character creation information. The table of contents is easy to read, nice and simple to understand. It starts you out with the Skeleton King's Crypt, which is a single player game that just allows you to figure out how to play the game. And it's like a plot twist adventure, really. That's all it is. And then it gives you an example of how play might take place. It gets you started, shows you what you'll need, talks about the different dice, and the box set includes the dice. So you get a set of dice with your game, not just the pawns. There's some cardboard pawns, a map that you can write on and reuse, which is really nice. It has a section that actually illustrates a dungeon, and it also has a rewritable map on the other side, which is blank. It covers pretty much everything you'll need to know. The book explains how this whole thing works. It covers all of your 6 ability scores and how to determine them. It covers your race, selecting that race, selecting your class, whether you want to be a cleric, whether you want to be a rogue, a fighter, or a wizard. And it does it in such a way that it's very, very easy to understand. So everything is really well color coordinated. That's one of the great things about this particular book, is they've gone to quite a lot of length to make sure that somebody could understand it when they were starting out. And then it goes over how to finish up your character, so a few suggestions, which is always nice, how the different skills work, what sort of DCs, what sort of things you need to roll, how the skills work in general is covered in quite a lot of detail. And then of course you get a section on feats, and we're not talking about screens and screens of information. Really, it's just very short and sweet, gets you what you need to know. Equipment, it goes over things like coinage, weapons, armor, and then of course you get your mundane equipment as well, which is very nice to be included. Playing the game, so how to actually go about playing the game, some of the things you'll need to know, how to deal with movement and combat, and it gives you illustrations through this particular book which actually show you how to actually do it. Gives you a few arrows and diagrams, which is really nice. Covers things like armor class, critical hits, making attacks, doing damage, making saving throws, casting spells, and of course death and dying, that sort of stuff. How to level up your character, really important. And then it gives you a glossary of terms. One of the best products I've seen in a long time. The last book I want to show you is the Transition Guide. Now this Transition Guide is supposed to take you from playing the beginner box and using the beginner's resources to playing the full-fledged game, which you can access for free. I mean, there are a lot of accessories that require you to make purchases, but you can play Pathfinder for pretty much nothing. You can just access it online. Couple of new rules are added. They don't cover all the rules when you start out, and they add a few more so you know how to deal with them. And then they explain how to deal with the core rule book, which is quite a large document. And then, yeah, it's basically your ability to move from playing from level 1 to 5 and going beyond, and including a few different rules that might have been left out in the beginner box when you were starting out. So really helpful, and I highly recommend this product. That's everything I have on the Pathfinder Beginner Box. Hopefully you found this informative. If you did, please share, like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make a comment below if you have any questions about the Beginner's Box, and I'll do my best to answer those questions. Until next time, keep rolling those 20s.